for the first time how far off revenues are from expenses and what kind of tax levy we would require, which will also motivate us to go back and relook at the expenses that we've looked at tentatively this week as well as on the 15th. All right. And by the way, I want to make sure that on the meeting of the 22nd that we have the department heads, Jared, Bob, as well as Ted and Matt, and of course you guys will be here from the front office at that meeting. Okay.
6 o'clock on the 22nd.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions from the trustees about that outline for what we're doing for the budget point of view? Once we roll it all together, then we'll figure out when we're trying to shoot for a public hearing of the budget by the middle of April, possibly during the April monthly meeting. All right. Yes.
I will be available on the 22nd, just to let you know.
Okay.
We had the 29th as a date in reserve in case no days are other.
Yeah. Plus, didn't Matt say there's a date? One of those dates is a problem because they've got a blood drive.
Yeah. Yes. I think the 5th.
The 5th. Oh, April? Oh, okay, that might be a problem. I'm hoping if things come together, we won't need meetings in April other than the public hearing for the budget. All right. Okay, then with that, let's go on to the two items for tonight are the police and the highway. So I've asked Jared to start off with his review of the police budget.
A review. I mean, from our halfway review that Karen and Sarah presented a month ago, I believe we're right on target. Looks like we're pretty close to target here. This year's budget, I see my contractual expenses are a little higher. I think there was some confusion on my part when we made our first big ammo purchase to bring us back up to speed to where we were.
Mm-hmm.
I think that most of that should have gone under training because most of it is training ammo. So that should even that out pretty much right there.
Okay.
And the rest, from what I'm seeing, appears to be right on.
Yeah, first
right
off,
on
question came up about what we should assume for salary increases. I asked that we just put in, for now, a placeholder of 3%. I think from 75%.
I put in 5 because the board was willing to give us 5% if we work with body cameras. So
Yeah.
I figured.
But for now, let's put a placeholder of 3 because that's what we did last year, the year before, and that's what the town just did for their budget for this year. And against the placeholder, Nicole's working on a matrix by employee to show us what 3% would be, and we can then use that to adjust if we wanted to go lower or higher. Once we know what that number is, we can see what the overall effect is of a salary change, either plus or minus. All right. Hi.
So then, my first line there on personal services, that was based
On 5%, yeah.
on a 5%, and then with about a $8,000 overtime buffer. So at 5%, I rounded up.
Yeah, my calculation would bring that 170 down to 167.
Right.
Which again, that's what I'd like to use for now as a placeholder, so we can hold off the discussion about salary towards the end. To the end. One question I had is, pretty much your budgets are right on from where they were last year. The revenues we've received from court and from school and from special events are lower than the expenses we show. Now, it's not a big amount of money, but in general, we're trying to break even with those dollars, right?
Well, I mean, what we receive from the court is revenue.
Well, isn't that the cost that for an officer to stand there at the court?
Well, I don't. Well,
we have another line item in revenue for the fines and fees, right?
They should be even because I think we had just budgeted that it was going to be maybe about $3,000, but Nicole submits to the town and we're reimbursed as far as I know. It should be 1 for 1.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's almost. And Nicole's explained to me how this appears red, but it's not, and I'm not tech savvy enough to really understand.
All right, well, I'll follow up with Nicole tomorrow, just understand. Maybe there's some lag time.
Right. I know the court and the school and special events like know, the road races, that should all be one for one and essentially not come out of our,
From what she explained to me, it's kind of like chips, where it's kind of just like a number in there, but they kind of just cancel out.
All right, fine. So I'll assume, and I can verify tomorrow with her, that what I'm talking about, those of you looking at the chart, year to date, the police fees for, let's just say, court, 1773, and then going on down to expenses, year to date, the expenses for court is 1950. All right, so it's not a big number. I just wonder why it is, and questioning whether we've got the right figures in as far as the rates.
I would assume that because February's been paid out to us, that probably hasn't been reimbursed from the town yet.
Okay.
I believe she submits it monthly.
All right, fine.
Which would make sense because it's 2 hours. It's about $80 per court session. There's 3 per month. It's about 220, 240.
Yeah, okay. All right, fine. And then I want to ask Karen, the line called fines, forfeits, and avail, NY class. Is that just the interest from the NY class, or is that also what I thought was?
Are you talking about the top one?
Yes, I'm talking about the bottom of the revenues.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to say New Year class.
It was what?
It wasn't meant to say New Year class.
Okay,
I think
fine.
she copied and pasted it.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
So it is fines, forfeits, avail, and I think that is the money we received from the town of Washington for the court.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay.
Which is much better than we used to get. We used to be averaging less, 1,000 or less per year. So that is up a little bit.
So the biggest change you've got is the increase in the retirement, which is a number we get from New York State, right? That went up $3,000 from last year, from the current year to the next year. Any other questions that anybody has about the police budget?
I mean, I guess if I could just speak back to the personal services line.
Sure.
I put in for 112 hours per week of patrol. We're at 104 currently. So I'm always looking to have us on the road more. So that would either be, there's kind of 2 options with that. There's either adding 8 hours of patrol, a second shift on Sunday, or adding 4 hours of patrol and 4 hours of admin time per week. It just,
I guess personally, I'm not too interested in adding a second shift on Sunday, but tell me about the request for admin time.
well,
What would it be? Would it be another person?
it would be a time where I can be in the office doing the required reporting and approving and possibly, like when I was meeting with Buffy and Vicky to do the code thing, time where I can set aside to do the things that I'm required to do as a police administrator, where I'm not interrupted by taking
And at the
calls.
same time, you have someone else on the road.
Correct.
I see.
So if I did like a 4-hour block, I'd have somebody else come in for that 4 hours. So if we got to walk in or something occurred during that admin time, I could say, hey, Officer Del Judas, Officer Lyman, come back and take care of this, and I can get back to the things that I'm supposed to be doing. It just to have a dedicated time to be able to get some of that stuff done is often interrupted by calls, and it is what it is. But sometimes the calls are hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then to try to get back to what I was doing administratively before the end of the day is, it's tough. Like I said, so I put in for an extra 8 hours. If 4 of that could be admin, and we possibly put another 4 on Sunday and split it into 2 6-hour shifts on Sunday, with a little bit more coverage on Sunday. That was my thought on that.
Where's that show up on your budget? We don't see that.
Well, I've done this whole other sheet.
Oh, that's the other sheet that you have. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that
Do we have that in the package or not?
I emailed it to you. I believe.
Yeah, I sent it to Nicole, but I didn't specify the sheet too. We don't have it. Okay, fine.
I mean, I could pass it down for everybody to look at, but
Well, I send it to him tomorrow, and then we're going to have a subsequent discussion about it. Any thoughts from the trustees about that? The request is to increase the hours per week. Right now, we have 13 shifts, totals 104 hours. And the request is to add another shift, or at least an additional 4 hours for admin time, or to increase the shift time on Sunday.
I think some additional admin time, I think, makes sense. I think we've been throwing a lot of various administrative and sort of high-level projects at the police just in the past year since I've been on the board. And
Plus, I gotta admit, he does have complaints about getting police reports out and stuff like that, Okay, yeah.
so I think it makes sense. I don't know what the exact number is. I don't know if we need another shift on Sunday, but I think admin time, I think, is a very fair request.
Okay. I myself am not overwhelmed by the need for a second shift on Sunday based on what I've seen.
Listen, I'm
That's
always
fine.
here. I'm always going to ask. I'm going to ask every year till we hit
Okay,
till
fine.
we hit 16 hours a
Peter,
day.
good point. I think we should consider that. Any other comments from the trustees?
I would just add my support to the admin time. I have no opinion about Sunday really, but we've seen it just this week where he's even come in to try to work on the budget and gets called. We of course want somebody on the street when we get called.
Yeah.
Has to finish the budget and other tasks that we would like.
Okay.
I endorse admin time, I don't see a need for a second shift on
Okay.
Sunday.
Pat, while everybody's in, your comments?
I agree with that too. I think we should give it to.
Okay, fine. Just note the year-to-date salary for the police, the PS line, you can see it's way low, right? Projected by the end of this fiscal year, it'll probably be about $30,000 on its budget. And that's because we had, Kelly left, and we had a hard time during the summer, as you all know, filling that slot and get somebody to step in, mainly in the coverage where Jared's out, vacation, sickness, whatever. All right? And we're still working to try to find somebody that can fill that kind of a role. Specifically, when Jared goes on vacation, having somebody can come and do the first shift. When Jared calls in sick, have the person available to come in at the drop of the hat. Not an easy thing to fill, but we still want to try to fill that slot if we could. All right? The alternative is, the alternative has been that we just end up with no coverage. New York State is then notified to be on call for any issues in the village.
Or I come in like yesterday was a snow day for the kids, and I was
Oh yeah, you were
sitter. I
off.
came in from
Right.
9 to 1. I gave what I could give, but I had put in for the new hire to start at 22, which would be less than lineman, but that was kind of averaging lineman at a 5% increase, so that number could be a little bit lower, but
That's gonna be,
that's not
going to be a big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I don't see where you included that extra shift in your personal services number.
It's all right here.
Okay,
That's why
so
I
this
have
over
worked on
here.
it and signed it. I mean,
Okay.
I can give this to you now if you'd like.
No, I've got it. I assume.
Presumably incorporated into what, the first line or?
Yeah, the personal services line is what he's saying. He's asking. This is, let's just take the budget for this year. 162,000 is what 104 hours a week would be,
Right.
given the mix of the kind of skills that he's got, of the part-time officers along with himself. And so going from 162 to 167 is a 3% increase on that, assuming the same rate. And as you see, we've not been able to achieve 104 hours a week on the average so far this year. So next year, if we do achieve 104 hours, and we need to go and add another shift or half a shift for admin, that would jump the 167 number higher.
So the way I have it worked out here, and Nicole and I worked on this a little bit last year, as opposed to previous years. I've done the entire budget basically on my salary at the highest one or the highest part-time salary, and so we broke it down that I'm here 40 hours a week. Officer Naughton's here 20 hours a week. He's the next highest paid in the department, and then the remaining time we did an average. It comes out to about $23. So for the 108 or 112 hours per week, it came out to $153,843. And then I went down, I broke down the holiday pay, which I subtracted because that's already included in the 112. Then we added in the special details, Memorial Day, fireworks, community day, Halloween, etc. Came to $24.82. And then the full-time officer benefit time, which is my time that you guys, basically you're double paying
Mhm.
for somebody on the road while I'm using my benefit time. And it came out to 159,728, and then I put in a little bit of a buffer in there of about 10,000 for overtime.
All right, fine. So you got the 169 instead of 167. All right, fine. Huh? Well, let's wait till we can look at this chart.
Okay.
I got today, I didn't
Okay.
look at it, and I'll send it to all you tomorrow.
Because it doesn't correspond to ours. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, well, these were my worksheets. That's how I got to the numbers that I put on this.
Okay,
Okay.
so
We'll
we'll
look
look
at
at
all
that, we'll look tomorrow when I send it out to everybody. All right. So the bottom line is, without those gyrations, I'm seeing from the police a 1.7% increase from last year. That's specifically budget for this year, 228,691, going to about 237 next year.
So,
What did you see?
I'm just still looking at the personal services. Did you want that up from 167 to 169, or are you gonna wait and go?
Yeah, do the 169 for now as a placeholder, sure.
I think really the only thing that I asked for an increase on was the training budget,
Yeah, I
as
see.
we're beginning to acquire some of the equipment that we need to do some of this training in-house. Like I had showed you that we bought some of the stuff for the baton training and things like that.
Mhm.
Also with the annual ammunition purchases. I also asked for an extra 500 on the repairs, because again, 251 is aging,
Mhm.
and as you can see, we're pretty close to tapped out
Yeah,
on
we
the
use it,
repair
yeah,
budget
I see it.
from this year.
I got no problem with that. Any problem with that from the trustees? All right, fine.
And everything else, I mean, barring any
Yeah, sure.
drastic inflation again, we should be able to maintain roughly what we did last year.
All right, so we all set with this, Karen?
Well, it looks good.
All right. Trustees, any other questions or comments for Officer Witt? Okay, thanks. Let's move on to highway. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, wait, let me just see. Oh, the asset list. Can we show the asset list for the police? Is that just the 2 cars?
Yeah, the revenue.
At the bottom.
I can get an updated one for that. It's usually our radios, our computers, cars.
Well, remember, when assets only over $5,000, we want to look at.
No, yeah, it's just cars.
Just the 2 cars.
I would say that our vests should be on that, because we have, I think, 4 of us coming up, and it ends up being close to that one.
Okay, well, the chart's there. Don't worry about it. We know the new car is what, 2 years old,
Correct.
and the old car is like 7 years old.
8. It'll be 8 in this upcoming
And we like to
fiscal year.
replace them on like a 5-year cycle.
Oh, I love that.
No, a 5-year 8 car was replaced, which means each car
Oh,
has
so
to
we're
go
trying
10
to
years.
get 10 years out of each
Yeah,
car. Okay.
which you don't love so much.
Could I ask to increase the repair budget for next year then?
That's 8 years.
Huh?
Cars are 8.
Yeah, so it shows 8 years useful life. The cycle we've been wrong is every 10 years, or every 5 years, I guess, for the new product. Let's hold for now. Let's see how the budget does next year. All right. All right, good. Let's go on to Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Bob's is in two sections. One is the garage, and then the rest is the streets. All right, Bob, go ahead.
All right, well, the 2 areas that had the most problem in was vehicle repair, as predicted, and tree budget.
Okay, that's down in the street stuff, right?
Right.
Let's stay with garage. Anything in the garage expenses we need to discuss. I do see some healthy increases here.
The garage budget.
Well, let me just start with looking at the total for the garage jumps from 18,150 to 25,810. Right?
Well, a lot of that is the fuel, stuff like that, that we don't have really a lot of control over.
Well, that's a good one to start with. Why did the heating fuel projection go from 3,000, which by the way, year to date, you're already over that number,
Correct.
but you've more than doubled it next year to 6,500. Is that a real fair number? I can see you wanting to increase it. And roughly, just to tell the trustees, these numbers as far as year to date are through 8 months. All right, so it's 2/3 of the year. So you're going to figure out a straight linear projection of what the year-end number would be. You'd take those numbers and multiply by 1.5. Right? Inverse of 2/3 is 3.3 halves. So now, you know, we're in the middle of the winter, so I don't know what to say about linear translation, but
That's not my number. I didn't put 6,500 in.
okay.
My original, that's not my number. I increased it to 45. So I'm not sure where that came from. Nicole rearranged some of these categories.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if she put something else in with that.
Well, I think the rearrangement means that this heating fuel should simply be to warm the garage.
Correct. So I don't know if she put anything else.
Well, let me propose a linear extrapolation of 3331 would be 5,000 by year end instead of 6,500. Does that make sense?
I had 45.
Let's put
I
5,000.
wasn't expect, I don't expect fuel to go up any higher than it is. In fact, it seems to be
Now,
going down.
let's go up a couple to utilities. You're at 2,000 year to date, but you're showing a request for 4,600. Why is that?
Again, she was, well, that's not my number again. I guess she was anticipating the electric and things like that going up, which I don't have any control over,
Yeah, I know.
you know.
Unless you're aware of an issue, I'd like to take the 2,000 and multiply by 1.5 to say the budget ought to be 3,000 for next year. 3,000 is what's going to end out this year. Should we increase it something from there? To like 3,500?
A lot of it, she was going, yeah, that's fine with me.
So you're not aware of anything that's super.
No, nothing
No?
would be changing. I don't know why it went down like that.
I think the utilities ought to be 3,500 then.
Unless anticipating the next 3 months, but
Contractual expenses, that'll end up like at 3,300, so I think 3,650 is a reasonable number. I don't have any problem with that. And supplies. Anything going on here with supplies? Going from 6,000 to 8,000 in your budget?
no. We moved some things around.
So looking at the list of equipment and supplies, what do you see that might have been in something else?
So Mike's looking at this detail sheet.
Yeah, the detail sheet, you know, it shows how you get to 8,000, but I don't see anything with gasoline. I don't think I see oil and lubes, but
Oil and auto maintenance supplies were not in there. And oil and lubes were not in there. Because they're not really maintaining the garage.
yeah,
So
that's why.
again, she moved them over there. And they're within the garage, yes, but they're not really.
I don't know. That just seems high to me. So supplies, there's nothing extraordinary going on in there?
Well, other than the oil and lubes and oils and maintenance, auto maintenance supplies should not be in there.
And that's 2,300 right there, and we're going up 2,000, so.
So should we keep it flat at 6?
But they're gonna have to go somewhere, yeah, you know,
It has to move over elsewhere.
yeah.
Will it?
They should go into vehicle repair and maintenance.
Okay. So let's reduce that back down, so let's reduce the supplies line back down to 6,000. And we'll go down to repairs and maintenance, up that another 2,000, 2,300? Or 2,000,
3,200? You're increasing it by 2?
by 2,000, yeah. That's what, vehicle repair and maintenance goes to 22,000 for the time being. So Bob, you okay with that?
Yeah,
22 or 30, I'm sorry, 22 or 32?
22,
Okay, you're just.
the vehicle repair and maintenance.
So another 1,000.
You say what?
1,000.
I thought you wanted to do 2300.
Well,
Because we wanted
2,300.
2,300 would be
Yeah, so what you,
500.
so Pat, you're saying take 2,300 out of the supplies and move it down to,
have it sent, yeah, take them out of supplies and move them over to vehicle maintenance.
so that makes the supplies line on the garage expenses 5,700,
Correct.
right? And then this vehicle repair and maintenance becomes 22,300.
right.
Everybody agrees?
Yeah.
So just to recap, for the garage expenses, we've changed utilities to be 3,500. We've changed heating fuel to be 5,000. And we changed supplies to be 5,700. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you did heating fuel, you did 3,500?
I'm sorry? Utilities we changed to 3,500.
Okay, yep,
Heating fuel we changed to 5,000. And supplies we changed to 5,700. Makes 5,000, so it cuts it down to about 20,000, about 21,000. So the 18,000 goes up about 21,000.
Yep.
So 3 on 18 is about 17%. Okay.
Now, building repairs and maintenance, I put in a $200 buffer just in case. There's no expected problem,
Yeah, okay.
but, you know, if something goes, plumbing, toilet, whatever.
No, that's fine, but you're already 1,100 year to date, so that's fine. Okay, good. So if we're finished with garage, can we go down to the streets? All right, everybody together? So first off, Bob, we just put in a 3% increase for the professional services. Just, Pat, just so you know, PS means professional services, so it's a salaries code for that. And so that's why the 211 for the budget for this year jumped to 218. We're just assuming that. All right. And by the way, if you want to look at the year-to-date numbers, they've had 19 of their 26 paydays so far, or we've had. So a regular employee has 26 paydays a year, and we paid out 19 of them so far. So there's 7 to go. All right.
Up top on the blacktop and blacktop repair on the road paving.
Yeah.
Okay, the first item is, that's cold patch, which potholes, basically. The blacktop I put in would normally be for drag box, but we've been doing a little less of that. We did a lot less of it this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, I would like to do more of the oil and stone.
Okay.
I want to keep what we have now in good shape. And we were able to do 2 streets, and I want to do possibly 3, and one of them is a major road.
You want oil and stone?
Yeah.
Well, that's one question. Why don't we just go to that right now? I would like to know what you want to do as far as paving, and then also oil and stone. Which specific?
Reservoir Drive paving,
And what's the estimated cost of that?
Well, we got a number of 67,000 last year, so.
Let's call it 70.
You can figure that's gonna go up a little bit with the
Okay.
cost of blacktop.
And who else? What should we make? Make that 75?
Yeah, I think that's safe.
Okay. And what else are we pay?
That's it on the paving. I'd like to do some oil and stone, some more oil and stone this year.
Okay, so now last year, first off, we used CHIPS money to do paving, all right? And last year, we actually used CHIPS money to do oil and stone, right?
Right.
We don't know yet what CHIPS money we're gonna get. Karen, last year, you got some kind of early look to see in terms of what our CHIPS funding is gonna be. We don't see that till like, I think, April, right?
I think we can just, pretty much what we got last year, we're gonna get again this year.
Okay. So remember what that number is?
I do not, did we have a rollover? Anything in rollover?
Not much. We used almost all of
We
it.
used all?
Yeah.
Is it 80, total of 86?
No, okay, so last year, where's that out on the expense? I think we were like 120,000 of CHIPS recovery we got last year.
But wasn't some of
Yeah.
that rollover?
Yeah,
No, this is what we spent.
right.
We
That's what we
haven't,
spent, but
Was that it?
I don't know, we don't, I read.
3501 state aid chips, 32,526.
Yeah, that's because we haven't gotten money back yet for the paving of North Avenue.
that hasn't come back yet.
No,
No,
right, Sarah?
that-
But you submitted it,
I did, yeah,
and the submission was like, what, 80,000?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But we assume 82,000, we are eligible for 82,000.
Okay, so the way it works is the budget is just like a placeholder. The way it works is we budget the amount of expenditures with CHIPS equal to the amount of revenue. All right. So we can put whatever number we want to in the expense column as long as we put the same number in the revenue. So it's a wash as far as the budget is concerned.
Right, but this reflects what we were eligible for last year.
No, I think this is an under. Right, I think that 80,000 goes back years, whereas I think our allocation last year from New York State for CHIPS was over 100,000.
That is right. So we should see if I can find out.
Bob, originally, when we talked about, I thought, or somewhere I heard that you were considering Reservoir and Washington at the same time for that.
Now, what, I don't think we're gonna have the budget for Washington because it needs extensive work on the, yeah,
Stormwater
underground
system,
work.
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the stormwater system has problems with the
Right.
piping.
All right, that's fine. So let's start with Reservoir. Then which streets do you want to oil and stone?
I'd like to do Maple, Safari, and possibly Harts Village. And they're all major, well, Safari's not that big. But
Do you have any
those
estimate?
were all paved now.
Any estimate for what the three of them would cost together?
Together,
Yeah.
probably 60.
60.
Maple's a big, I could get away with doing half of Maple since it was done in two sections to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the upper half is starting to deteriorate.
Okay.
And I don't want to lose that road. Safari's held up pretty good, but we did do a lot of the crack sealing on it, and it's a perfect road to oil and stone now, because you'll have the double.
Okay.
And all these roads have now gone past 5 years on when they were paved last. It goes fast, right?
The ferry was 2010,
Yeah, that's
so
what we,
that's,
so,
you've had 13 years on that.
yeah, and that's well overdue. Luckily though, the road it's held.
All right, let me draw everybody's attention to the line road paving. You see, last year we had a budget of 35,000 and we only spent 7,500. The reason is because we used CHIPS money to do the oil and stone of Linden and
Not quite.
only 9 partners. Okay, so we saved a lot of budget money by using CHIPS money to do that. Okay, and so what I'm thinking about is what is in the 7,500 that you spent this year?
That would have been some drag bots that we did.
Oh,
And
okay,
any
fine.
blacktop that we got for miscellaneous.
All right, so Bob, since as we get to the end of your budget, we're going to see that you're way over. I'm looking for some serious ways to cut back. Why can't we reduce this budget item for road paving to include only things like drag box?
Oh, we can reduce it way down if we can put CHIPS money, if we.
That's what I'm suggesting. And I'm also gonna say to you, I think we should pave Reservoir. You wanna pave Maple, Safari, and Harts Village. I say Oil and Stone, whichever of those you can, given what CHIPS allocation you get. How's that?
Is CHIPS gonna reimburse you for oil and stone?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
You said they did last year, right?
that's right.
Okay,
I was surprised myself.
okay.
I thought the parameters would have to be a 10-year investment to get it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is.
They,
We promise not to go back for another 10 years, okay?
that
Well,
was,
good luck not touching Superior again for 10 years, you know, I was gonna say.
Well, we'll see.
What else is not gonna hold that for 10 years?
But let me tell you, 9 partners looks great,
yeah,
you know? So the answer is yes. And actually, we asked for approval of that
yes.
before we did it. So I've got no problems with doing that for these. But so, Bob, did you agree that we'll do that only to the amount of chips we have to do Oil and Stone?
Yeah, that's fine.
What's the board think about that?
I'm sure we can get at least Maple and Safari
Then I
down.
want to further recommend that we reduce the road paving budget to 10 grand from 30,500. What do you think about that?
I can, yeah, that's well used.
Plus, you should also know, I need to send that letter, the CHIPS letter, to the trustee just so they can see it. There's 2 other categories. Of CHIPS funding we get that are for like potholes. It's like winter, whatever the thing is, right?
Yes,
Remember
it's
those
a new
The
program.
emergency.
Emergency, yeah. it's a
Emergency, right,
winter,
there's
yeah.
an acronym, of course, for it,
Yeah.
but it's something like that.
EWR.
Yeah, so I think we should be using that money as well. We can't use that for like oil and stone or paving. But we can use that for repair if it's a major kind of a thing.
Did we use it on merit when the roads bubbled? Is that the kind of thing?
No, that's where he has to use this kind of. This
Yeah,
budget,
that's
yeah.
came out of the just regular pay.
Yeah.
We use that for the plow.
We used it to buy the new snowplow for the sidewalks
Yeah.
2 years ago.
We
That's
could
right.
use it for equipment.
Yeah, again, because it's got a lifetime of 10 years or more. All right, so Bob, are you okay with us doing that? Reducing the road paving budget to 10 grand for next year?
That's fine. We'll use that CHIPS money for the oil and stone.
Right, and only to the point of where we get the, we have chips available,
Yes.
okay? And I'll send everybody a copy of the last chip letters we got, just so you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on. The next thing is contractual expenses for streets. Now, we still have this, the 7660, y'all see that there? So the story there is that a few years ago, somebody, actually a person in this room, ran into the Flagler Monument and damaged it. Totaled the car as well, but anyway, and it was fully reimbursed to the village for repair by insurance, okay? So we did the repair and we got the money first, and then we did the repair this fiscal year, and they just threw it in the that line right there. So that number should be taken out of the year-to-date when we want to talk about budget. So if you take 7660 out of the 12,660, you're now running 5,000 year-to-date. Okay?
It's village property, a monument.
Yeah. Yeah, right in the middle of a highway. You can't make this stuff up.
For years, no one knew whose it
I
was.
know. Until Rod said to me, let's put lights on it. I don't know, lights on it, because we own it.
There's a lot of mysteries.
Yeah,
If we own it, why can't we get
There's
rid
the
of it?
triangle on
because it costs too much.
Linden Lane that somebody mows nobody mows it once. It gets mowed, that's all.
All right, so Bob, what I'm requesting is for street CE, that line item, it's running 5,000 year to date. It ought to go to, I'm gonna say 7,500 by year end, 8,000 looks like a good number. Why are you increasing it to 12,000, 11,875?
Because we,
And
again,
don't say that you don't know this number, because,
no, again, things were put into here. This blackboard, there you go, with,
well, that was in this year too.
Okay,
Yeah, you get your allocation of blackboard,
okay.
but that's no change from last year.
That's the same as last year?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it as an expense on my expenses, so,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay. What else?
Well, we didn't do any we didn't clean any catch basins last year. So we have to do them this year, and that's right there gonna be 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So right there is a big number that wasn't done. Everything else is pretty much what we need. Road sweeping, which we do every year, that's going up. Catch basin supplies, I tried to keep that number low. And that's another reason we really can't do Washington. This is a lot more in catch basin supplies than is budgeted. Crosswalks and stop bar painting,
Got that, right.
that's
Let
all.
me just play it back to you. So this year you didn't budget for any catch basin cleaning?
Well, we budgeted for it, but it was used as an emergency.
So you didn't do any this year?
No.
Okay. All right, so that
We
justifies,
were over budgeted because we used them to drain that pond, and we used them on an emergency, on 9 bars.
all right, so that rationalizes why 8,000 might go to 12,000. And catch basin cleaning is important to do, so I don't know if we could cut that out.
Yeah, no, that really needs.
Okay. Any questions about that line? Leaving it 11,875?
And that's a little higher than normal, than I've done in the past, because we have to, usually I do half every year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, we've got to
You're making it
do
for last year.
all of them.
Okay, got it. Okay. If there's no questions, let's move on. Diesel? You jacked it from 5,000 to 8,000. You're over budget already
That's
year to
based
date.
on what we use, what we've been using, and what we're probably going to use, with a little extra in there.
Mhm.
I mean, that could go down a little bit,
Not if you prorate what you've done year to date.
yeah.
Okay.
If diesel, if it drops,
Yep. Equipment and supplies, why'd you triple that value from 1,200 to 3,600? Is it stone? I see you got $2,000 for stone.
that she based on, change that number based on what, some of the stone we use for oil and stoning, and that number can go down.
Why should that be separate from chips? That ought to be part of chips, right?
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
So this number's, that can go down
So let's take that down.
to $1,000, yeah.
Yeah, take it down $2,000 to 1,650. See that, Karen? All right, good. Repairs and maintenance. This is of stuff that you, like your mowers and things like that.
Yeah, that's small, yeah.
That's fine. Okay, training, keep that the same. Okay, vehicles and maintenance. You gotta be kidding me. Repairs and maintenance.
Can you as far as what?
Okay, so later on, Bob's gonna be asking for a new dump truck. And so one of the reasons why is because how much have you spent year to date on the old dump truck in repairs and maintenance?
Not counting this latest repair, $16,804.
Okay.
Add another 8 to that.
Let's do this. Let's come back to that because that's going to dovetail into the discussion about whether or not we should get a new dump truck. Why don't we go on? We'll come back to it. Trees, you jacked it from 15,000 to 17,500. Just note to the trustees, year to date, he's at 20,575. 5,000 is because Out on the Limb gave us an invoice that was from last fiscal year. Right?
Right.
So I've asked Bob to keep on top of that to make sure that, one, Matt knows he has to invoice right away, and two, that you need to be able to cut him off if there's a problem with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I think you thought he was doing us a favor, but he didn't. It just messed everything up.
More favors like that, and we're going to put him out of business, okay.
Now, I put an emergency number in there specifically for that reason. If it's something that a tree comes down on wires or something that we can't touch, well, we haven't had to do that other than about 3 years ago, but I think just in case, that's gonna be at least a $2,000 call, no matter what it is.
I've got no problem with jacking up to 17.5. Any problems with the trustees?
No. I had a question about the trees, just so we're at it, because that 17, I don't know where it falls, not part of the highway budget, but it's kind of like an amorphous stuff by itself. That is, the shade tree budget is $2,500.
Right.
So we're spending $2,500 a year to plant new trees and $17,500 to cut down old ones. So I think we're due, since we originally, when I came on board in 2012, the budget was $5,000, and over the years has been dissipated down to $2,500. We need to keep in mind that we're gonna have to put that back up, because right now, with a $2,500 budget, we would get to plant 2 trees in the village for the entire year.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the front office. That's where it is, right, in the front office? Yeah,
Okay.
let's save the discussion for that.
That's fine.
I don't agree with you, by the way, but anyway, we'll talk about it then. Too many trees in this village as it is. I'm just kidding, okay.
No, you're right. Too many dead trees, let's put
Well,
it
that's
that
for
way.
sure. Okay, that's true.
Too many dead trees.
Yeah. Let's move on. So employee benefits, there's nothing there. That's because it's held elsewhere, Sarah?
Yes.
Karen, okay, good. No equipment reserve, okay. CHIPS, we already discussed CHIPS. That's verbatim. Revenue equals expense, so don't worry about that. The next line is snow removal. This is the salary for Matt. Matt Hurst does the, drives the tractor, all right? So that's what that line item is. So you can see year-to-date, 1,400 is what we spent. We budgeted 5,200. We just assume it's going to go up about 3% next year. I just don't believe we're going to have as easy a winter next year as we did this year. I mean, the marbles aren't in for this year anyway, so. Anyway, any problem with that? And the contractual expenses, that's the chemicals, the salt and stuff, right, Bob?
Yeah, the calcium chloride.
Yeah. So, why do you only spend 600 year to date? Just because you use your bill as you use it?
The calcium chloride?
Well, that line item, it's calcium chloride plus salt, right?
No, that's, well, we haven't gotten a bill for salt yet,
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
so. Yeah. And calcium chloride, we won't need anymore.
Okay, that line item includes both calcium chloride and salt?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. Any questions with him putting $2,000 up on that?
What's that final number gonna be, Bob? I mean, there's been no snow, so I don't,
The final number on the salt?
Yeah.
So,
Any idea?
If we're supposed to get a nice one coming Friday, but if it goes out like a lamb, it's probably gonna be half of it. Because we-
Notice he's
let's-
been using salt, for even, when we get these icing things, right?
Last year, we used 720 ton. This year, just used another 45. This year, we're at about 230.
Okay,
So that's counting.
all right, fine.
That's counting this list, and what we did about 45 ton.
But Peter, I just think for next year, we should keep about the same, or jack up a little bit, all right?
we're gonna have some
We'll have
savings
some
here,
money,
right?
yeah,
If we're gonna have
This year we'll have savings,
Yeah.
yes, right.
Oh yeah, no, we should be unless.
And also, actually, you see also we'll have savings on the road paving too, just because we use chips instead of the budget. So that's sort of good for this year. All right, let's go to the next page. The street lighting, that's pretty much baked in the numbers from what we get from Central Hudson, right?
Yeah, that's all of that is out of our control,
Okay,
other than repairs. And we did do major repairs last year. We had all of the 5 lights out
oh, that's right, yeah.
at one time.
Mhm.
Normally, with these new lights, we're changing the bulbs every 3-4 years, and they've been lasting forever. So that's that cut way down on it. But
Okay.
I put in, the only thing extra I put in there was 500 for repairs in case somebody hits one or something like that.
Yep.
we have a major problem. A question on that, I know that the business association wants to change over all the light poles for Christmas. Put new electric outlets in all the light poles. You're not aware of this?
I've heard discussions about that, I don't think
Okay,
decisions.
because apparently we're not doing trees next year. They're lighting the poles and putting wreaths up and
No, I
lighting.
think there'll be discussion about that.
That's the plan,
Let's hope so.
because they don't have the money.
Peter, what'd you say?
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that's a.
you hope like there's a discussion about it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that's a closed conversation.
yeah.
That's,
I spoke
because they
to
don't have the
Buffy
money
very
for the trees
recently.
or whatever.
Yeah, okay, fine, let's hold off that until we
So,
actually get into
I
the.
just don't want it. I mean, I think that should be their,
We need to make a note to make sure that we're talking to them early. I don't know what that means. Is it October, September, something like that? That we're bringing up a discussion with the MBA before it gets too late. Because otherwise we're starting to make
there's a
irrational
lot,
decisions.
from what I'm hearing is, I've already been told not to order any new barrels or anything for next year, no matter what breaks, they'll just put what we have left.
Fine.
So
That's the
apparently
MBA's call.
they're cutting way back on things. It has nothing to do with us, other than doing it. So, I think that this,
Just so I'm clear, so no flour barrels anymore?
no, there will be flour barrels, but we're not replacing the broken ones, which you can count at least 4 or 5 a year that break.
Well, I guess that's also a discussion with the MBA. I mean,
Yeah, and I never get asked to their meeting, which is fine. I don't know what to do with it, but I've offered my advice, and I haven't been taken up on it. So
Buffy only just had like one meeting.
still, I didn't get invited to that.
Would you like to be invited? You're invited.
Well,
I'm invited.
Okay,
oh, you're there? You go to the meetings?
Yes.
Well, that's what you told me.
I've only
Yeah.
gone to one.
because I've
there's
given
only
them
been one.
told them all kinds of solutions for these flower barrels and the trees and all these other things, and they just,
All right.
I'm sure they'd love to have me. Awesome.
All right, so look, that's not a budget question, but I think that is a
well, it
discussion
was
with the
the only
MBA.
thing with, if they were gonna put these electrical things in there, that was gonna be probably $1,000 bill.
All right, let's assume that's not gonna happen.
So I don't want that.
Yeah, got it.
I think more generally, I think if the business community is unwilling or unable to step up for whatever they've done in the past, and I do think that we have a responsibility as the village board to keep Millbrook a destination and
Yep.
and a beautiful place for people to visit.
I agree.
In the holidays, in the summers, etc. So I think we should plan for that from a budgetary perspective if necessary.
How about this?
Or
I'd
just
like
mow
us
the
to
trees down and have no flowers. Just have a
How about this? How about we find other money that's not in the budget to fund that kind of stuff, at least at the start, to get that going. I've got some ideas there. I'd like to keep it out of the budget if we can. All right? So let's do that. We've got some available money that we can talk about. All right? Because to budget for it now is it's just too preliminary. We don't know what we're going to be budgeting here. Shot in the dark and
yeah.
really not go down that path. But your point is correct, and we got to make sure that at least somebody keeps up the village reputation.
And there are a lot of alternatives.
Yeah, okay, fine. So let's get there in a different way. Go back to street lighting. Year to date, again, this reflects a lot of the problems we had with repairing those decorative lamps that are all along Franklin. The budget they're requesting for, why is it going to go up $5,000? I can see electric going up some. I don't know about the repair bills going up.
No, the repair bill I put in for $500.
Well, no, this right here. So why did the budget go from 42,000 to 47,000?
I have nothing to do with that. I have no idea what we get charged by Central Electric.
Okay.
That's Nicole's numbers. She put those in as far as the
Street lighting on the
thinking
back of the other.
It is?
Yeah.
electric is going
It's
up.
on the back.
So
Yeah, I see it.
Street lighting.
Central Hudson has been raising their rates,
Sure.
so I'm sure that's what is reflected in there, Central Hudson.
All right, but
6,000 there.
Huh?
That's a lot. That's a,
Yeah, 5,000 on top
That's
of 42,000 is over 10%.
We'll take a better look at it before we do the whole budget.
All right, fine. So we'll just leave it in for now, and then we'll go back and
I'll
look at
just
it.
put it at 42.
All right, so we'll leave that at 42, and we'll
Yeah.
come back and look at it later, Bob.
The only
And
thing,
then there was 10.
why is Friendly Lane a separate entity? Unless it, the only thing I can think of is the lighting around the Jesus.
What is
The library parking lot?
so?
Which
So
is-
Church Street is the school flashing yellow light, right?
yes,
I assume that's what that is. Ornamental light, those ornamental lights. Those are those things along Franklin.
those are on Franklin.
The village lighting, that's just those big green poles throughout the village.
But what is Friendly Lane 1380?
I don't know.
We don't have
We
any,
could grab the bills and see what the address is.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm wrong about that. There's a warning light for
is
the
over
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's down there. So I don't know what this church. What's the Church Street?
Yeah.
no, that's another one, I don't know.
That might be the new ones they just put in.
Oh, yes, okay, that's the bank parking lot that Rod made the deal, that if
They put the lights.
they
in.
put the lights up for free, we would pay the bill.
Where are these lights at?
On the bank parking lot across from Nucci's,
On Custom Roofers?
the second parking lot over, where
Really?
they put the new decorative lighting in,
All right.
they put those in for free, and we pay the bill.
Is that right? Okay.
But Friendly Lane, we shouldn't be paying the bill for the parking lot there. Because they own those lights.
Are there lights there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those decorative, they're around there too. But we don't maintain those.
So that's a question for me to have with George?
I feel like we should look at the bill.
Okay,
See-
fine.
See what,
That one,
The
yeah, I
addresses.
just wanted Friendly Lane.
All right, fine. But these others, I just don't know that we can back off of what we've got there. Repairs is only $500. I think we should leave it at $47,225 until we find out reason why not to.
Yeah, that's the only question I had was
Anybody object to that?
the Friendly Lane one.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, I know that we've got on the main street on Franklin Avenue, we've got the ornamental lighting. For the poles that are outside of that, we're still using sodium light bulbs. As those sodium light bulbs burn out, are we replacing them with LEDs? 'Cause I
Are
know-
we replacing them?
Yeah.
We don't have, that's.
That's all Central Hudson's
That's
job.
all Central Hudson.
Yeah, they do.
The only lights we own are the ornamental ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to village lighting, then the Central Hudson takes responsibility for replacing it.
Right.
Yeah,
We pay for the
yeah,
electric.
yeah.
That's our $39,900.
Yeah, we have nothing.
But they're in charge of repair and maintenance.
with those. Even the one that we were just talking about in the village garage. That's their,
Okay. All right, so we'll look at the bill for Friendly Lane and then decide whether we can change it or not. Okay, next is sidewalks. This is also something I want to have a separate discussion on. The reason why I want to have a separate discussion is because we're doing the sidewalk replacement phase 1, south side of Franklin between Front and Church. Hopefully we're going to be pouring concrete this summer. And let's hold off till the end. Let's talk about the rest of the line items here, and then the new truck, and then we'll talk about sidewalks. All right. So the next line items are basically the dump trucks that we still have. So we paid off one of the dump trucks. I think that one was bought in like 2018. So that last payment was just last month or January or
was
something, right?
2019.
2019, okay. And we still have 2 more years on Highway Dump 2 is the big truck they just got. So that one, the last payment is on 2024. So the payment this year and a payment next year. All right, so those are verbatim numbers to book. All right. And then if you go on down towards the bottom, this is what Bob's proposing. So Bob, tell us about the need for a new dump truck, what it is you're replacing, and why.
Okay, our 2011, which is way past its 10-year life, as you see, we just spent $16,000 or $17,000 in repairs on it.
So that one had $17,000 repairs last year.
Right. And I don't expect to have any less next year on it, and I'd rather make a payment on a new truck than to keep dumping $15,000 to $20,000 into an older truck.
Can you just tell us what trucks you've got? This 2011 is the oldest of the dump trucks?
The oldest of the dump truck is a 2008.
That's the one that has the leaf.
That has the leaf box on it. Well, right now it has a sander on it, but because the 2011 was in the shop and anticipating the storm, but he got it out fast enough that we got it. We're okay.
Okay, good.
But that's a truck with the leaf box on it.
All right.
That truck is used 2 months out of the year, and we did a lot of maintenance on it this year. So new tires and things like that. So that truck should be set for quite a while. We don't do a lot of, we don't plow with it. We don't do any real abuse on it.
Okay, good.
It's only used for 2 years, 2 months rather. The next one is the 2011, which is the one I want to replace.
Yep.
The 2015, which is now 8 years old, and the 2019, which actually the 2000 we got it in 2020, and then the last is the brand new International.
Which is what 2020?
That's a 22. 22 or 20?
No, give me
21.
22. So we have a 4-year loan on that, 21, 22, 23, 24. And the 2019, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, fine. So why do you need 4 trucks? You have the 2011, 2015, 2019, 2021. There's only 3 guys.
2021 does not plow, sand, or do anything else. It's a dump truck. It's a big dump truck.
So the plows are on the 2011, 2015, 2019.
Right.
You can't put a plow on the 2021? Why not?
Well, because it's probably about $30,000, and that truck's too big to plow in the village.
Why? Too big because
you want to come see it. I mean, it's not something that.
I've seen it. I know what it looks like. I
It
know
doesn't maneuver around it. That's the reason we have small trucks.
Okay.
So what do we use this, what are we using for?
This is a 2-wheel drive. It's a rear-wheel drive.
That's 2-wheel drive. That's the other thing. It's used to haul snow, gravel, trees, leaves.
Stone, all kinds of stuff.
It's used to haul.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that when we purchased that one to replace a truck that was well past its years, 2 years ago? And that was like, that
Well,
was,
it
that was very.
replaced in 1992.
1992, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. So it was dying very quickly. Shouldn't do anymore.
So Pat, what do you think about this?
No, I don't think you can use a big truck for plowing.
Okay.
It's rear-wheel drive. It's gonna be a mess, shit show driving around.
How much did Bob pay to say that? All right, fine. I got to defer to your expertise there, and I know nothing about this other than it looked worth the plow on it.
You have to remember, we plow parking lots.
Let's not get into what you plow and versus
things
what you
like
should plow.
that. So, but, no, that's.
All right, so based on that, any other questions about that rationale? I'll take you through what the numbers say. So Bob, you said the cost of a new truck to replace the 2011, you said the cost minus what you could get as far as a trade-in or selling on whatever would be $75,000. You said you thought you could get $20,000 for that 2011.
Yeah, I think we can. With
So
the plow and sander.
Yeah. So you would buy a new truck with the plow and sander new. And you thought that would cost $95,000. You could get $20,000 from selling the other one.
Correct.
And Pat, you got to jump in here if you have any comments or questions about that.
That's with the plow and sander?
Yeah.
Probably about that.
Okay. And so if it was $75,000, this goes to the numbers that are on this chart. We could get a 5-year loan on $75,000 at 3.75%. We just talked to the bank today and they said, what would it be? Just hypothetical, no commitment. And they said 3.75% on $75,000. And so that would be over 5 years, $15,000 a year. That's where you see the principal. and the first year interest will be $2,800. That's where I got those numbers. So my question, Bob, is if we go and get this paying $17,800, how much are you going to reduce the repair and maintenance budget?
You'll probably get it back down to what you had this year. But I wouldn't reduce it, well,
So what I'm saying is, first off,
if you
how long
reduce it this
if we?
year, we still have, you know, by the time we get a truck,
That's what I'm going to ask you. How long does it take to get that truck?
no, we probably won't get that until, if we ordered it within the next 2 months, you're probably looking at January,
Okay,
February,
that's
maybe.
close.
What are you looking at for a truck?
That 550. Same thing we have, everything's gonna be exactly the same.
But this is Ford.
Yeah.
Okay.
We try to keep everything the same for repairs.
What I want is, if the board's willing to agree to a new truck, I want some trade-off in the vehicle repair and maintenance budget.
You also have to remember that all the new trucks are under warranty. And the newest truck would be on, so the maintenance will
Right.
go down. Just that brand new truck, the maintenance went down because what we were doing on that 92 was just a waste of money. Keep that running.
Okay. I don't know. Any comments from the board about? Do you think it's justifiable to get a new
What's the
truck
price of that 550 alone? You know, without the plow center?
without the what?
Plow sander and body, I got a quote of 52. But that's only, I only got one. That was just a ballpark. I haven't put it out, I didn't put it out to a bid.
You mean the sander and the plow is like an additional 40,000?
And the body of the truck. The dump body
Oh, okay. All right.
and the lights and the electronics and all that stuff.
Sounds like Paulson.
Yeah. So what do you think, Pat?
Just trying to do the math in my head, think about it.
Well, part of the vehicle repair and maintenance budget is attributed.
52,000 for the frame and chassis is that's a pretty reasonable. That
We get it on-
550 cost.
We get it on state bid, so.
State bid, so we don't need to compete bids. It's a pretty straightforward process then.
Well, I still want to get state bids. Not everybody is the same. I found out last time. So that's why.
Why
we
is
got- I don't know.
Some people that can give you a fleet price that'll beat the state bid price, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Bob?
And that's what happened with the 2019. They went through it. We got that out of Jersey.
Oh, okay.
And I'm hoping to get it from them again.
The question was what?
What part of the repair and maintenance budget would you reduce then? Or would you attribute to this old truck?
Well, $16,000 of it, you know, was that one truck. But you also have to remember, every year you're going to be having a tune-up on one of those trucks.
Sure.
An oil change on one of those trucks, $550. A set of tires, $2,600.
I'm not going to set it to zero. I'm saying I just want to
So
reduce it
those
from.
are regular maintenance.
I doubt it, I'm just curious, like, okay, the number here is 20,000.
22,000, change that, right? 23,300.
Yeah.
So my question is, and Bob, you said we could reduce it to back to the current budget, 15,000.
Yeah, hopefully, but again, when it goes, if it goes over,
Okay.
because of some major, you know, I'm expecting, the problem we just had with the 2011, he said within a year, we might lose the turbo on it. You're looking at 4,000.
Mm.
Because that's what blew the air into whatever it is. So, stuff like that, got 90-something thousand miles on that transmission right now.
Yeah, I understand those are hard miles too.
You know, and they're
Yeah.
hard miles.
Yeah.
If that goes, I have no idea what that is, but that's gotta be 7,000 to 8,000. And the time that the truck is down,
Mm.
which in the winter is not good.
I know you said you anticipate 16 to 17,000 repairs.
No, that's what we,
Just on that
yeah,
truck.
well, that's what we did this year.
17,000
Are
year
you
to date.
expecting for next year another 16 to 17,000?
Well, I don't know, maybe, or maybe not, you don't know, I can't predict it. Like I said, if the transmission goes, it could be, 8,000, if the turbo goes, 4,000. I mean, just the regular stuff on it. And then the blade, every year we have to put a blade, a cutting edge on the plows.
Well, look, I'll tell you what,
Those are $1,500.
I don't want to do both. Either we say hold off a year on buying a new truck, which is probably foolish, or we buy the new truck but recognize a reduction in repair and maintenance, because this is a fiscal year number from June 1st to May 31st of 2024. And so,
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with it. It's just, like I said, I didn't have a problem with it last year, but
yeah, I know.
bang,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we had.
And you've been, I told you so with me for months.
But again, we have a brand new, we have 2 new trucks that are both under warranty, so there's gonna be no maintenance with that. The 2008, whatever needed to be done with that is done. Tires, things like that.
All right, so let me ask Karen, if we do reduce the vehicle repair and maintenance to 15,000, which is what I'm suggesting, and include the numbers that we've got here in front of us for getting a new truck. And by the way, Pat, I wouldn't mind if you went and thought about this overnight or whatever,
Yeah.
and send out an email with your thoughts on this,
Yeah, I
right?
kinda wanna look into like.
Yeah, right, think about it.
Like,
I think you, any of us probably are best to, you
Yeah.
talk about too,
Yeah.
whatever. But anyway, let's assume that this is good, and that we do go with a budget of 15 grand for repairs and maintenance. What does that give us the total here, Karen? Of the 533, 733?
Yeah, I don't, what I did was I just took the street equipment, the street part of it on page 1,
Yeah,
all of the street. And by reducing that road paving to 10,000 and making the changes that you've made throughout, that is a reduction in that part of the budget by 15,575. So there's your principal payment on the new.
wait. We've reduced the road paving by
I didn't-
20,500,
You reduced it to 10,000?
10,000.
Correct.
We reduced the equipment supplies by 2,000 to 1,650.
Correct.
And we reduced the repairs and maintenance to 15,000.
Correct.
From
Right.
22,300.
Correct. So if I add all of those up, it's 64,875. And if I go back to the current budget, 23-24, those items are 80,450. So just by reducing that road paving, you've reduced the street budget without the long-term debt by 15,575.
Why am I not seeing this?
I think another factor that
Are you
might be helpful.
Do I have these right? I have 10,000, 11,875, 8,000, 1,650, 600, 250, 15,000, 17,500.
Yeah,
Right? So if I add those up, it's 74,875. If I go back to the current budget, those same items are 80,450.
so what's the delta?
15,575. So what he was able to reduce in the street budget is that pretty much a principal payment of just about
Let me
15,575.
put it back to you. Road paving is reduced by 20,500, right?
Right, it went down to 10,000, correct?
Right, and the equipment supplies is reduced by 2,000, and the repairs and maintenance is reduced by 7,300. Went from 22,300 to 15,000. If I add up those three deltas, 20,500 plus 2,000 plus 7,300, I get 29,800.
Right, and if you go to the current budget and take the 35,000, take the same items in the current 22-23 budget.
Oh, you're adjusting those numbers, okay.
See, if you look up at the screen, I'm taking the adjustments that you've
Yeah,
discussed, I'm taking those items in the street budget.
yeah,
That comes out to 64,875.
okay,
If I go back to the 22-23 current budget and I take all those same items, it's 80,450. So you were able to reduce it by 15,575.
okay, so, I'm trying to get to what percent did Bob's budget go up overall with those changes? He had a budget of 507,940, and it's gonna go up to I'm just gonna call it 30,000. It's gonna go up to 50. It's gonna go down.
Other items in here.
Let's just look at his requested lines.
Right.
We've taken, based on this discussion, 29,800 out of the requested line. The requested line includes the new truck. So that means if I go to the end of the sheet, the second sheet, I can take 30,000 off of the 533,733
Right.
to get down to 503, which basically leaves Bob flat. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody agree with that?
Yep.
So based on that rationale, and I guess I'm going to hear back from Pat, but I think that looks like a justifiable reason to order the new dump truck. With Bob's need to keep the 2011 running until he gets the new one in place. All right? You okay with that? Bob?
Yeah.
All right. So if you're okay with that, then I want to talk about the sidewalks. So you've got a line item in here of a budget, $9,000, haven't spent any of it, and then the sidewalk contractor expenses, $21,000. I assume most of that is the grinding, right? Anything else in there?
Some minor concrete work that we did.
Okay, fine, all right. So, problem I got is, what are we gonna do to fund the replacement of the sidewalks, phase one?
Also, I saw that surveying was in there, I guess, for the new,
Yeah, that's all part of it.
okay, so that's.
Oh, that's right, that's also in there, you're right.
That's it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we estimate the total cost of the phase one project to be $150,000, right, Mike?
Yes.
And we've got this block grant from the county that's worth $100,000. All right. The problem we have is twofold. One of them is we're $50,000 short, which means we got to come up with $50,000. The second thing is they reimburse us after the work is done,
Correct.
which will be after we've also paid the contractors who've done the work. So the question I got, maybe it's a Karen question, is how do we fund this, and can we handle the float required to be able to pay these contractors before we get reimbursed from the county? What are our options?
Well, I guess that depends when we do it. Like, we're gonna be collecting taxes in June.
Yeah,
Um,
the work won't start before June, but it will be soon after that, we hope.
well, then we probably could do that and just make sure that we get the reimbursement from the county within like a month.
They're pretty good about that, Mike.
Yeah, they
I
have
think
been.
they promised 4 to
I was
6
gonna
weeks.
say generally it's 30 days, but I mean, in terms of meeting installment payments on, from the budget, can't promise it to the day.
Sure.
It could-
Right, right.
It could go
I think they're good for the
45
money.
days,
The
but-
question though is, can we afford to front $150,000 up front and only get paid back 50? Only get paid back 100.
Right.
And so where do we go and budget for that 50? So is that just a new line item here?
Well,
And we can't afford to add 50,000 to Bob's
Well,
budget.
I mean, that would be where you put it, in
Yeah.
that sidewalks, if you did fund the 50,000. But, we were kind of talking about looking at the different phases, all the phases, and kind of putting this whole package.
Well, let me tell you how it goes.
Because do you want to borrow 50,000 now for the phase one? If you know that you're going to be short for phase two.
Phase two is gonna be about the same thing. It's gonna be
Right.
150,000, or 200,000, I think we're asking for 150.
Yeah.
Right.
We haven't heard from the county yet, so I'm optimistically assuming we're gonna get that 150. So again, we'd be short about 50,000.
Right.
So if we did borrow 50 now, we could use it for phase one and get reimbursed. Wait a minute, we don't get reimbursed.
No.
We lose that. So we have to actually fund 50,000 and another 50,000 in phase two.
So I guess the thing is to kind of look at the bigger picture. Do we want to, just bond for that little bit and have all the closing costs, or do you want to look at the whole project and say, okay, over 3 years, we're going to be short 50, 70, whatever it's going to be.
We have no idea what that other two phases. Huh?
Yeah, well,
We have a whole project will cost.
Yeah, the whole, we haven't got any bids to go by other than,
Phase one, right?
yeah.
Well, actually, phase two has got a pretty good number too. Yeah.
We've got an estimate from the engineer on what he thinks it's gonna cost, but the county has said, realistically, that, initially, well, a year ago, when we got our first estimate from the engineer, they said 112,000 for phase one. Then by the time inflation kicked in and they started looking at the bids they were getting for the same kind of work, in other places, they were saying, well, it's $112,000 what your engineer said, but you might have to spend up to 125 or even 150. You have to see what it is when the bids come in. So even the county is hedging on what it's going to cost. That's the problem. If you go
And of course,
farther
the
out,
longer we wait, the more prices go up.
so
So
the farther out you go and say, well, if we do phase two, that's why these, the prices are, look like they're going to the lower cost.
So we're trying to do 4 phases, 1 phase a year over the next 4 years, right? We have no idea. I mean, from an integrity point of view, phase 2 is in worse shape than phase 1. Phase 3 is the worst shape of the 4.
Oh, absolutely.
And phase 4, which is going to be the north side of Franklin from front to church, is probably the least expensive. All right?
And if you're looking at a time frame, if you're getting a block grant every year and the application process is yearly, you're talking about going out for money in 25, 26, 26, 27. I mean, with possibly a whole different set of people here, involved.
Sure.
Because you've got elections at the end. So I think you have to plan.
I'm going to tell you the other alternative is, hate to keep going back to this, that CHIPS funding could be used for sidewalks.
Yeah, I've said that before.
Yeah.
We still have too many roads, like
Right.
Wilford Lane and Hanson and Rutherford that haven't been paved for 25 years. But you can't say, well, it's only 12 houses, there's only 10 houses, and we'll ignore them for forever. At some point, if they haven't been paved for 30 years, they need to get paved.
So Karen, if we estimated right now that we needed 50,000 per phase on top of the block grant, that'd be $20,000. We would need over the next 4 years. Does it make sense to bond the whole 20,000 now, given that most of it will be sitting there for versus going out every year for 50,000?
I don't know. I mean, you're paying closing costs and
Every time.
every time, and I don't know. I don't know where the interest rate's going every year. Well, that is the question. The question is, do you want to borrow 50,000, bond 50,000, and then bond another 50,000 next year, or do you know that the next year is going to happen and bond 100,000 for both phase 1 and phase 2, or do you want to see how we're doing cash wise I mean, 50,000 could be something. I mean, we could have enough fund balance to cover that, but when we were talking about, well, maybe we have enough fund balance this year, but we certainly don't have enough fund balance this year, and then to have another hit
Sure, right,
next
every
year,
year,
and
right.
another hit next year, and another hit next year, but,
First off, will we have enough fund balance available to handle the interim, like to pay up front and get reimbursed?
I think we'll have enough cash because
Okay, fine.
we will have collected,
Tax money.
we will have collected taxes in June.
Okay,
So
fine.
if the project's in July or August,
All right,
then,
good. So taking care of paying the contractors at the time is not a problem.
correct.
Given that we're highly confident we're gonna get reimbursed from the county, and we just need to figure out what we're gonna do to cover the other half, the other 50,000. Okay.
What is the range of fund balance that we think is possible?
I mean, I
Range, I
think,
know you can't.
Well, we were at 450,000 last year, right? That's what you showed for June 1st of last year, unrestricted fund balance.
mhm.
And I'm pretty confident it's gonna go up again this year, given how we're doing for the budget so far. But again, I don't wanna plan on using that money, to tell you the truth. I'd rather we bond it.
Okay.
What do the rest of the trustees think?
Or aren't we limited in how much we can keep turning over?
You might want to wait, and I mean, if we know that we have enough cash in June to cover it, then you might want to wait and see in August. I mean, wait till we get after phase one, and then maybe we can do like a combined plan, towards the end of 23, 24, planning for phase two,
Okay,
and then borrow the 100,
so what you're saying, not budget anything?
not budget anything for the 50,000 right now.
Okay,
I'm not the financier, you are, but isn't the way the crime rate is going and the way the Fed is funding things going back, so that the borrow would be as much cheaper to borrow by next fall or by 2024 than it will now, because right now the prime lending rate.
It is, I mean, it is slated to kind of level up in July and August.
I was really surprised when Sarah said that the bank said 3.75 is the current rate.
I know, that's fantastic.
Last year, when we got the $400,000, that was 3%. So, not as concerned as I was before. All right, so you're proposing that we not put it in the budget, and we use fund balance to cover in the interim, and we relook at that again after we've actually paid out the money. And that time, we'll also know whether we've gotten a block grant for phase two or not,
Right.
and how much of that is going to be needed.
Right.
Okay. What questions or concerns about that? Sounds like a plan to me.
I just think it's 50,000 is a pretty big hit to your budget, to try and put it in your operating
know.
budget.
Right. I was going to make Bob's repair and maintenance negative 30.
Make it 100. Stop the trucks from breaking.
All right, so
Has
if
to
the
run
board's
its
okay with that,
own
then let's do
schedule.
that. That'll be the plan. Sarah, can you put that in the minutes, make sure that that's specified so we don't forget that?
Yep.
All right, any other questions about Bob's, can we see the asset list?
What's that?
It's really
I want to see Bob's asset list.
be helpful.
Oh yeah, we'll get copies of that to you. That's all this detail, yeah. Those are the truck payments, yeah, here we go. Okay, he's got a tobacco basket. That's the first thing. Oh, tobacco bucket, oh. What's that, Bob?
It's the bucket on the backhoe which is starting to wear out.
Is that right?
Is it the front or the rear?
What's that?
Front bucket or rear
Front.
bucket?
What was the answer? Tobacco?
Front.
The front. So that's the big one?
Yep.
Okay.
It still has, I mean, it's not an emergency, but it's
Okay.
something that within 5 years will be coming up.
Okay, you've got the 550, that's the one that you want to replace,
Yes,
right? And then the snow tractor, that's the one we just bought.
yes. So that's already done.
Okay, fine. All right, so you didn't put the bucket in your list, so you think that's okay for another year?
Oh, yeah, no, it's probably good for a couple of years.
All right, fine. Why don't you have all your dump trucks on here?
Because you had asked for things that would be needed.
Oh, that's right.
Replaced within
You're
5
right.
years.
Okay. Good.
And my regular list has everything on it.
So we can actually take off that last item.
Chainsaws to microwave.
All right, any other discussions for Bob or questions? All right, so follow-up is going to be, well, Pat's going to chew on the cost of the new vehicle. But it sounds like it's something that's containable. We've got a plan for the sidewalks. Those are my concerns. Anything else? No?
Does the village ever buy used equipment, or would they ever buy a used dump truck with a dump body already on it?
We gotta use one. We gotta use one now.
I know, but there's like, you can find ones that are decently cheap with the body already on it, you know, that's.
When you say body, what does it mean, the body? You mean
Dump
the-
body.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because you buy the cabin chassis, and then
Okay.
you have to have a dump body mounted on
All right.
it. So, I didn't know. if
I
that-
disagree completely.
Why?
Find somebody else's problem, but
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just asking, I mean,
yeah, no, I can't see doing that.
Bob, the fact that you think you need 20 grand for this 2011 says there's a market out there, right?
I'm not saying that. I'm just throwing it out there, like, some people buy trucks and get rid of them with 10,000 miles on them, you know? I mean, it's just because their company goes under, or
Yeah.
they're selling out, or they're getting rid of something, I mean, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not talking something with 50.
So Bob, you check, I know what your gut feel is, you check in anyway and see what's out there, if you got any, do you have any
I'm
current
not sure
source?
where it would, how do you, I mean,
Are there
Where would you go?
brokers for that?
Facebook Marketplace, or,
Marketplace?
yeah,
just the regular.
cars.com, or car dealers.
You just at least check it out and see what's there.
I mean, I'm not like saying buy something 30,000 miles that's had a salter in
Yeah.
its whole life when you're a standard, but I mean, I could look too.
I understand your concerns, but I think it's a fair question to consider.
All right.
All right? All right, anything else to discuss today? That's all on my list. I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Any second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next week's meeting is the monthly board meeting.